Welcome back, subscribers. This is your riding wingman, Johnny Hopper, here to help. I'm going to analyze a couple user videos, and I'll probably continue to do more. I've gotten lots of videos from you guys, and I know you guys want help because, shit, it's Johnny Hopper. Like, I know everything.
The inner machinations of my mind are an enigma.
Maybe not everything, but I might know a little bit more than you when it comes to riding. So, first viewer, CK234, is 15 years old, having some trouble with momentum. So he sent me a couple videos where he's just struggling coming into corners. And I would say, man, you need to not be coasting as much. So especially on a two-stroke, you don't have any engine braking. So we don't need to coast and shift down and hold back the motor that way. You're gonna be charging hard into the corner and then braking and then setting up for the corner. So the drills that I would suggest is I would kind of go back to a straight line. Straight line, charge, brake hard, then kind of pivot and turn, and then come back, charge hard, slam on the brakes, and then pivot and turn, and do that drill 10 times or so before you start riding on the track, and then break up the track when you're actually riding. Just practice a section and try to charge in hard. If you miss the corner, that's fine. Just come back and do it. Because the biggest mistake I see a lot of guys doing when they're out at the track is they try to go faster everywhere. And it's very difficult to get faster everywhere. It's much easier to break up this small section with two corners, a jump, and then move on to this section that's just one corner, or then this just section that's like a sand roller. And then once you add them all together, you're much faster at the end of the day. So I've got a buddy, Vernon. He sent me a YouTube video of him crashing. And it looked like his first video, what he did is he just blipped the throttle as he was kind of leaning into a corner. You're on shell rock. So what's going to happen? That rear end's going to slide around. And if you're not on top of that bike, to be able to correct it, what I mean is if you're sitting just central on the motorcycle, well, that back end's going to slide around and you're going to go down. So you're going to have to pay attention to your terrain. Obviously, if there's not a whole lot of traction there, you can't just blip the throttle and spin that rear tire if you're not, like I said, on top of it. And how you could be on top of it is I've got some other videos on my channel where your ass crack is literally on the outside, so that you're weighting the outside peg with your knee and you're on top of the motorcycle. So you're not just sitting normal, because when it slides, you're going to slide down. But if that bike starts sliding and you're on top of it, well, you can push that motorcycle up. And he's got a few more here. And his other one, dude, it looked like you weren't in the right gear, or potentially you were in too high of a gear and you didn't have bottom end power. Because that's kind of the problem sometimes with two strokes, is if you're just coasting and you try to get some actual low end torque to it, you don't have any. So you probably, I would say, if you're in the woods, try to be in a real low gear if you're going slow, so that you can respond with that throttle if you're needing to. Because it looked like you just didn't have any motor whatsoever, and it just kind of tipped you over. The last one, it looked like you were turning and you were braking on that same shell rock, so you're gonna slide. I recommend, if you're going to do a whole lot of braking, it needs to be in a straight line, especially if it's real slippery, especially if it's on rocks, because rocks don't have a whole lot of, I would say, traction to hold you in place. So finish your braking before that stuff, and if you have to, just kind of coast around the corner. You don't have to come in and just, as soon as you're leaned over and you're braking, those wheels are going to slide on you, you're going to crash. Moving on, I've got a gentleman by the name of Cameron on a Yamaha. He's won some corner techniques. And he's coming into a corner that's a real bowl corner. And he's coming off the jump. He's looking like he's doing pretty well, my friend. I think you could charge harder into that corner. And then as far as setting up, I'd like you to be more back on the motorcycle. And then when you get finally into that corner, I want you to get balls to the gas cap. All right? And then from there, you can just lean over, weight that outside peg. If you need to, slip that clutch, and you could just be wide open around that thing, and you could even let that rear end spin around. But if you sit down like you are sort of center in the motorcycle, it's not going to allow that bike, that rear end, to be able to pitch around. And I'm not talking about pitching around to where you do this 180, but it's just sort of a subtle. I've got some brake slide tips if that's something you're looking for, but you don't even need to do that completely. It could just be like a false little brake slide where you come in real hot, you're on the back of the bike, get way up forward on the motorcycle, weight in that outside peg, handful of throttle, slip the clutch, rear end's just sliding around and that berm is catching that rear wheel. Other than that, my friend, I think you're actually doing pretty good. I just would try practicing keeping that outside elbow up, being more forward on that motorcycle, and weight that outside peg, and let me know if that helps, dude. So the last video that we're going to show is all the way from Bulgaria, an individual by the name of Mulan. His name's definitely not Mulan. Mulan. I really apologize that I fucked your name up so bad. But let me just analyze your video here. You're showing me it's a left-hand corner, and the only thing that I can really tell you is in order to set up better, to be on the gas harder, is again, get up on that gas cap. You want to be maybe 1 inch to 3 inches behind that gas cap so that you can stick that leg out and you can really control where that motorcycle goes. Because if you sit down right where you stand up in that middle of that motorcycle and you go to turn and you get on the gas, that motorcycle, just from inertia, is going to want to push outside, and it might jump you out of a rut or might jump you out over the berm, and you want to control that speed with that front wheel and have the rear end follow. And the only way to do that is to unweight that rear end a little bit and get up forward on that motorcycle, because you have control over it. If you're up here, if you're in the middle of it, it's just difficult. Yeah, I know guys like Villapoto can really make it slide around sitting down, but that's Villapoto. This is just a simple technique that I want you to practice. So just go slow into the corner, practice moving forward up onto that motorcycle, keep that outside elbow up, and then that way that motorcycle is going to follow where your eyes go. Because you want to make sure that when you're up on forward on that bike, you want to look where you're going and that bike will follow. Again, just being super repetitive because I don't have a lot of vocabulary in my words apparently. Right, Mulan? Mulan. I'm just kidding. If you're sitting down in the middle of that motorcycle and you're trying to look, that bike's still going to go somewhere else. If you're sitting up on forward of that motorcycle and you're looking where that front wheel wants to go, ahead 10 feet outside of the corner, the exit, then it's going to follow. It's a real simple, but I do think it'll help you out a bunch. So I could go on and on and on, and I've got plenty of videos analyzing jumps and more crashes that I want to get to. I just wanted to push something quick out for you guys. And if you guys like this, please keep sending me videos. I might make this a weekly thing, a double weekly thing, depending on how much time I have. Anyway, to keep me from just keep talking, till next time, this is Johnny Hopper. Johnny Hopper, here to help. Because you might know a lot about bikes, I probably know more. Oh, jeez. It's not condescending.